Hello, my name is Henry Berman, and before I get started, I would like to thank you all for coming and listening to my video presentation for my Eagle Scout project, which is a conversation teen to teen about mental health. So, what exactly gives me the right to come and lecture you guys about mental health? Well, nothing, because I'm not here to lecture you guys. I'm here to have a conversation teen to teen, peer to peer, about my experiences with mental health and why I think it is important. So, I'd say a major push for me in the direction of mental health was when I was in seventh grade. My older brother, who was 16 at the time, committed suicide. Um, my older brother Parker was really more than just a big brother to me. I really looked up to him because after my parents got divorced, he was really the big man of the house. And I never really knew that he was in such a bad place that he felt that the only way out was suicide. So it kind of made me realize that just because someone might be on the outside looking and feeling happy, on the inside might be a completely different story. So, in this presentation, I'm going to talk to you about my experiences at Newport Academy, which I was able to go to at the end of my sophomore year and take a month off of school and really get the opportunity to get away from everyday life and have the opportunity to process and really think about my grief and everything that has happened in my life and really have the tools to be able to think and process my emotions in a healthier way than I had been doing. So, over the next 30 ish minutes, I am going to talk about my experiences at Newport and my other experiences and what I believe is really important about mental health. And then afterwards, there are some real life situations that you can kind of read and think about how you might use what I talked about in my presentation to kind of help guide the person to make a healthier and better decision. So before I start talking about my experiences, I want to talk about some important statistics. So, mood disorders, including major depression and bipolar disorder, are among the three most common cause of hospitalization in the United States for youth and adults ages 18 to 44. And suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States and the second leading cause of death for people ages 10 to 34. And where teenagers are smack in the middle of that age range. So, the first thing that I want to talk about with mental health is mindfulness. So, what exactly is mindfulness? Mindfulness is the moment by moment awareness of what you're thinking and how you're feeling, and you're not focused on the past and you're not worried about the future. You're really stopping and sitting there and really thinking about what is happening right now. And mindfulness is really important because it allows you to navigate through maybe some stressful situations. So you might be worried about a test that's coming up, or you might be freaking out about something that had happened in the past. Mindfulness kind of allows you to stop and think about it and really think of a response and a way to move forward that is positive and healthy. So these next 9 slides are 9 steps or parts of mindfulness that I believe are important to help you be able to practice mindfulness in your everyday life. All right, so the first part of mindfulness is focusing on the present. When your thoughts get lost in thinking about the past or worrying about the future, try to bring them back to what you are feeling right now in the present. Try to remain open to how things may unfold in the present rather than having a preconceived idea about how things should or will turn out. So I think one example of this that I think everyone can relate to is at the beginning of quarantine in March. I was really excited that, yay, 2 week break from school, and then we'd go back and then have spring break, and then the school year would be over. But once we kind of realized that we weren't going to be leaving our houses anytime soon, I started kind of freaking out and getting really nervous about what is going to happen to summer activities. It's my senior year, applying to colleges, and it was really hard for me to kind of focus on finishing out my junior year, worrying always about what's going to happen in the future. So being able to focus just on the present allowed me to kind of get through junior year and the rest of school online, which was not great, but it allowed me to stop worrying and freaking out about what might happen for the rest of quarantine or summer or senior year. So the next part and next step of mindfulness is pretty similar to staying in the present, but it is being fully present. So to be fully present, become keenly, not cleanly, aware of what you are experiencing in the present moment as you go through your daily life. Maybe try to check your phone one less time. Maybe check one less, open or send one less Snapchat, view one less TikTok. I know that sounds stupid and that you're like, what does this have to do with mental health? But it's important for you not to always be distracted by other stimuluses when you might be trying to do your homework, or you're talking to a friend or your mom or your dad, or you're supposed to be focused on something else and your mind is wandering to other places. So I want to challenge you guys over the next week to really think about what is distracting you, maybe when you're doing homework or when you're supposed to be in school listening to your teacher, and try to make a concerted effort to try to limit how you are distracting yourself, whether it is being on your phone, or maybe you're thinking about what you're going to have for dinner or what you're going to do that weekend, and really focus on thinking about what is happening right now. The next part of mindfulness is being open to experiences. So rather than dreading and shutting out your feelings and experiences because you don't think that you can handle them, welcome them. Welcome those new thoughts and feelings. Because know that these sensations only happening in this moment, and the next moment they are going to be completely different. Create a space to hold these thoughts and these feelings and become aware of your experiences as the flow of sensations, thoughts, and feelings transform over time. So back to my example of being freaked and stressed about COVID and quarantine and how that was going to affect my future. Being able to be open to new experiences, well, they might be less exciting or not have the same expectations that I might have had before COVID or before quarantine. I still had a pretty great summer, and so far my senior year, even though it is online, has been pretty great. It could be better, but there's nothing that I can do to change that, so I'm focusing on what I can do and what I can change. All right. The next part of mindfulness is being non-judgmental, and this applies both to you and also to other people around you. So try not to categorize your thoughts and your feelings as good or bad, because there is no such thing as a good or a bad feeling, because that's just not a thing. Try to experience those feelings without putting a label on them, and know that what you might be feeling now is probably going to be completely different from what you're going to be feeling tomorrow or in 10 minutes from now. It is also important that you are extending this non judging attitude to those around you because that person knows pretty much probably what is best for them at that time. So it's important that you're not pushing away what you might think is a bad feeling and only holding on to what is a good feeling, but you are letting those feelings and experiences come to you and flow through you and change over time. All right, the next step and next part of mindfulness is accepting things as they are. So, when you accept things as they are, you aren't trying to change reality to fit your vision of what you think it should be. Instead, you're letting it play out to what is actually going to happen and what is meant to happen. Because you know that whatever life might throw your way, you know that you can handle it. It is also important for you to extend this idea and this feeling to other people because you know and they know that they're the best judges for what is good for themselves. So, why exactly is being able to have acceptance and being able to accept things as they are, why is that important to mindfulness and having a positive mental health? It allows you to have more emotional energy for yourself, and it also allows you to be more emotionally available to other people. So, this is super important, especially now that we are in COVID. And I know for me, I'm always wanting COVID just to be over so normal life can resume and I can have some normal part of a senior year. But I know that that is not possible and that's not going to happen. So I have to be able to accept the reality of that and just make the best of what I can. So, the next step, the next part of mindfulness is connection. Try to feel connected to all living things in nature as a part of a larger whole. Reflect on and feel grateful for all that life has to offer for you, and know that all living beings want to feel happy and secure and to avoid suffering. Feel connected to those around you by similarity of needs and experiences, and it is important for you to remember that you are never alone because you might feel like you're the only person feeling down or feeling sad or going through this experience, but I can promise you that there are other people out there that have shared those same experiences and feelings with you, and just knowing that makes you feel better about yourself that you're not alone. So, the next part of mindfulness is non attachment. What exactly is non attachment? Non attachment is not trying to hold on to a certain feeling or emotion or experience that has happened to you because attachment comes from fear and is also the basis of suffering. It's important for you to try to learn to ride the wave of life, going with the flow and the ups and the downs of your feelings and your emotions because you know that you can adapt to whatever happens because, as we all know, when one door closes, another one opens. So, in reality, this isn't a whole lot different from any other part of mindfulness or being able to have a positive mental health. It just means that you are not clinging on to a certain feeling and dwelling on that because doing that closes you off to having new experiences and being able to feel new feelings. And going along with non attachment is peace and equanimity. So, what exactly does this mean? To have peace and equanimity, you are maintaining an even keel and you're not getting swept up in the highs and the lows because life is a cycle. And you know that you can't always see the full picture of what one feeling or one experience means because you aren't going to know until much later in your life. And remember, when things don't go your way, stay rooted in your feeling that everything happens for a reason, because it is true. All right. The next and final step of mindfulness is knowing your self worth. So, what exactly does knowing your self worth entail? I'm sure we all know what self worth is, but when it deals with mindfulness, it's especially talking about that little nasty voice inside your head that is telling you that you aren't worth it, you aren't enough when you fail a math test or any other test, that you're not smart, and that you don't really deserve the shot and the life that you've been given. It is important for your mental health, to have a positive mental health, for you to ignore that little mean voice inside of your head. Because you know deep down, without listening to that voice, that you are smart, that you are loved, that you are enough. And it's important that you know that for yourself, so that you don't have to rely on other people to give you that kind of validation. So, now that we're done with talking about mindfulness, let's move on to something closely related, but still different, and it's still important to your mental health, and that is compassion. So, deal gently, kindly, and patiently with yourself and others. And rather than judging or condemning, open your heart to listen, to try to understand your own and other people's feelings and experiences. Allow yourself to feel what other people are going through. In a sense, you're trying to walk through or you're stepping in their shoes. And it's important for you to remember to love someone not for what they can give you or what they can do for you, but because you can connect and you can empathize with their experiences and how they're feeling or have felt, because you have probably shared some pretty similar experiences. And it is important for you to remember that if you can't have compassion for yourself, it's going to make it very difficult to have compassion for other people. All right. This next topic, this next part of having a positive mental health, in my opinion, this is the most important part, and that is authenticity, or being truly authentic with yourself. So, when you're being authentic with yourself, you're not hiding any part of you from either yourself or other people because you're worried about what they might think, or that they're going to judge you for how you are feeling, or how you act, or your own experiences. Because remember that when you're being authentic with yourself, it feels like that you are being the best you that you can be. I think for me, my best example of being truly authentic with myself was 2 summers ago. I finally came to the realization and was confident in myself and was able to come out as gay. I had known since 8th grade or ninth grade that I was gay, and I had been struggling with it and really trying to suppress it and put it down and think, no, I'm not gay, because I can't be gay, because that's just not something that is okay for me to be. But realizing that it was just not healthy for me and it wasn't making me happy, and I just felt pretty terrible about having to pretend to be something or someone that I was not. I was finally able to come up with the courage to admit it to myself. And then after I came to terms with it for me, I was able to tell other people, because it was much easier than having to tell myself. So, this next part of being able to have a positive mental health and a good mental health is communication. Communication in itself is a really important part of having positive mental health because it allows you to open up and talk to other people about how you're feeling and your experiences so you don't have to bottle them up inside and you be the only person that knows and feels them because as I can say from personal experience that's not a very healthy or good way to go about living. But for this purpose, the most important part of communication is, I believe, being able to be an active listener. So, what is being an active listener? Active listening is giving your full and undivided attention to the person that you are in a conversation with. You're not thinking about other things that have happened throughout the day or what's going to happen. You aren't on your phone. You are really sitting there and really engaged with the other person to really give them your full and undivided attention. And this also means that you aren't thinking and coming up with um, a response or an opinion. You're really just there to listen and understand what that person is going through. And if they ask you to give an opinion or what they ask you to give feedback, then you can. But other than that, it is important for you to be able to listen to that person because you would want them to do the same for you. All right. Relationships is pretty much intertwined with communication, and it is also the next part of having a positive and good mental health. So, when I'm talking about relationships, when it comes to mental health, I'm talking about having a positive relationship with another person. So, what I mean is a positive relationship is a relationship that provides support, that not only helps you buffer, that not only helps buffer you from negative feelings like stress and worry and grief and sadness. While you are going to feel those, it is really good to be able to talk to another person about them so you aren't the only one going through it. On the other hand, a negative relationship is a relationship where you don't feel comfortable talking to that person and you don't feel like there is a way that you can communicate with them how you are feeling, or there is just no real positive reason for you to have a relationship with them. And I know it might be hard to think about your relationships and in that way, but in reality, if that relationship isn't helping you emotionally and physically, it's not really a good relationship for you to be in to have a positive mental health. And all right, so the last part of what I believe is important for having a positive mental health is being able to set a goal or have a goal. So, what exactly does having a goal mean when I'm talking about having a positive mental health? When you have a goal, you have a direction that you are going and you have a set destination and most likely a plan to get there. Much like an airplane has a route to get to its destination from where it started. And while there might be detours because of inclement weather or maybe your plane ran out of fuel, you will always end up getting to that destination because you have that path. Setting a goal gives you that path forward and gives you a direction so you're not just aimlessly wandering in circles and not really ever being able to accomplish anything or have anything done. All right. So I would first, before I talk about this last slide, would like to thank you all for sitting through my entire presentation and listening. But this is the most important slide if you haven't really been listening. at all through the entire thing. So I'm just going to give a brief overview and some takeaways from each section that we covered for you to take with you after I'm done. So the first thing that we talked about was mindfulness. So for mindfulness, I want you to remember to take time out of your day to just sit, think, and process how you're feeling. And then we covered self-worth, which was a part of mindfulness. But for self-worth, I want you to remember that it is only what you think about yourself that is important. Who cares about other people's opinions? Because really, they don't matter. The next thing that I covered was compassion. And the most important thing that I want you to remember for compassion is to try to understand where other people are coming from and have empathy for them, especially if you do not know them well. The next thing that we talked about was authenticity, which I still believe is the most important part of this entire presentation. But what I want you to remember from that slide is it is important for you to be true to yourself and others, but most importantly to yourself. And then talked about communication, and for communication, remember to use your words to tell people how you're feeling, because nobody is telepathic and they can't help you if you aren't able to say what is wrong. And then we just talked about relationships. It is important for you to keep the relationships that are beneficial to your emotional health. So if you don't think that it is, it might be worth considering ending that relationship. And lastly, we just talked about it, but goals. It is important for you to set a goal to be able to keep yourself on track and focused. Thank you.